Cody Rhodes is WWE's biggest star. Whoa, let's do that again. Take over.
You came into this industry as the most naturally talented athlete to step in a WWE ring since Shawn Michaels. And what did you want to do?
Be champion.
Cody Rhodes is WWE's biggest babyface since John Cena. With WWE spending one generation after another fighting its own fan base trying to coronate a top guy, Cody clicked for a myriad of reasons. Cody perfectly timed his free agency, immediately ascended to the WWE main event, and most importantly, started his story, one that fans became inescapably invested in for years. We're living in a whole era of WWE's long-term storytelling at its finest. Good, bad, and ugly. I've spent 2 years and almost 1,000 days studying the Cody Rhodes story and everything that comes with it. Cody's story was an imperfect journey that at its best was an Emmy-caliber tearjerker, and at its worst was the biggest meme in wrestling. There was a real chance that Cody Rhodes could finish his story too late, or worse yet, not finish his story at all, in which case he'd go from the grandson of a plumber to the son of Roman Reigns. So what was it that made Cody such a conquering and enduring hero to such a fickle fan base? Why didn't the unpredictable WWE fans never leave his side, even during his darkest moments? And is this story really finished? Or are they writing the epilogue before our very eyes? The answer might surprise you. So, what do you guys want to talk about? These were the first words spoken during Cody Rhodes' last AEW promo. Cody was working without a contract, and speculation ran wild that he was jumping ship to WWE. And that's exactly what happened in March of 2022. The great paradox about Cody Rhodes is that he fits in anywhere, but not always at the right time. During his early days on the main roster, he seemed like an AEW guy in WWE. Once he left for the Indies and joined forces with the Young Bucks, he always felt like an ex-WWE guy competing on the Indies to show WWE just what they missed. Cody succeeded at that goal through the success of All In and later All Elite Wrestling, where he seemed like a WWE guy in AEW. AEW fans never truly accepted Cody Rhodes the way he wanted them to. He was too clean cut. He was too PC. He was too WWE. Cody lost a match that banned him from ever competing for a world championship in AEW. And even his act of martyrdom wasn't good enough for Jacksonville. An apparent effort to unite AEW fans in his corner backfired. In May of 2021 on Dynamite, after a polarizing speech against the British heel Anthony Ogogo, Rhodes became an internet heel in AEW. Rhodes was massacred online due to the promo, which gave birth to the sarcastic Cody solved racism meme. Looking back, the promo was probably a better fit for a political rally, and though it wasn't all that divisive, it would have killed in WWE for a top babyface. But that was the problem in AEW, where the promo was rejected by AEW's fat, neck-bearded, mouth-breathing troll of a fan base. Ruby Soho's words, and mine. Cody Rhodes was an unapologetic babyface in AEW who refused to turn heel for an older demographic that valued inside baseball over entertainment. And as a WWE guy in AEW, Rhodes sealed his fate by leaving the company he helped start. Rhodes literally went out in a blaze of glory, going through a flaming table in one of his final matches against Andrade. This man set himself on fire and solved racism, trying to win over the world's most smart mark fan base, and it still wasn't good enough. So for Cody Rhodes, it was time to leave the territory. It was off to WWE to start and finish his story.
It's Cody! And he's got his Ese fin, Cody.
It was a must for Cody to leave WWE. It was a must. He would have never been the star that he is today if Cody Rhodes wouldn't have left WWE. And the reason I say that is because, you know, Cody was born into this business. Cody was born into the WWE. Cody never had to work an independent show or anything like that. He didn't have to do that. Cody did that because he wanted to, and it was a need more than anything. And for him to go out there and prove his value.
Cody Rhodes returned to WWE at WrestleMania 38. And unlike his final year or two in AEW, he was universally cheered. Rhodes can't take full credit for being embraced initially as a babyface in WWE. While fans in Dallas, Texas were excited to see Rhodes, Rhodes' return meant so much more than just a talented top guy joining the company. WWE was in the midst of a heated wrestling war against AEW, and all the momentum was on AEW's side. AEW had an embarrassment of riches in the company. They had new toys, like when Adam Cole jumped ship, baby. Bryan Danielson jumped ship. AEW was thriving on dream matches, and even CM Punk joined the company after a 7-year absence. WWE needed a spark. They only had so many Brock Lesnar returns left in them, and if you're into reading lawsuits, they may not have any Brock Lesnar returns left at all. As the first AEW free agent to join WWE, Cody Rhodes gave WWE the spark that it desperately needed. It didn't hurt that Stone Cold Steve Austin returned to headline WrestleMania 38, but by Monday's Raw After Mania, momentum was firmly in WWE's corner. To this day, WWE has thrived, breaking live gate and sponsorship records. Now Netflix is slimed to the tune of $5 billion. With an almost 80-year-old Vince McMahon out of the picture due to sexual misconduct allegations, WWE has never been better creatively. These days, WWE is cinema because they finally got back to just telling stories. Rhodes' story began with a promo on the Raw After Mania, one that probably would have been booed in AEW. He even started it as if he was in AEW. So, what do you guys want to talk about? The Raw After Mania is known for its chaotic moments, its surprise returns and debuts. It could be argued that this heartfelt promo was one of its most important moments ever. This promo set the tone for Rhodes' entire purpose in WWE. Rhodes showed the American Airlines Arena a grainy picture of the American dream. Dusty Rhodes, Cody's daddy, was hoisting the WWF Championship. No, not winning the title, because that never happened. Dusty Rhodes beat superstar Billy Graham in Madison Square Garden, but because it wasn't by pinfall or submission, Rhodes won the match, but Graham kept the title. This is a main reason Cody Rhodes returned to WWE, to win the WWE Championship his father never won and finish his story. That's the story. Simple, right? Stories don't have to be convoluted and booked for an internet fan base bogged down with rankings and polluted with inside baseball. The best stories can be told in one sentence or an elevator pitch, one where you can just tell somebody in the short time spent in an elevator, my boss makes my life a living hell and now I'm gonna kick his ass. Period. That was the Stone Cold story that made WWE millions of dollars. Daniel Bryan is an everyman, beloved by the fans and hated by the authority. Period. That was the story of Daniel Bryan and the Yes Movement. CM Punk has gone off script and now he's threatening to leave WWE with its most prestigious title. Period. That was the Summer of Punk's story. O.J. Simpson may or may not have murked his wife and her boyfriend, and in the end, not guilty. That's the Johnny Cochran story. I don't make the rules. R.I.P. Johnny, you the GOAT. Cody Rhodes charted his path to being this generation's GOAT by beating Seth Rollins not once, not twice, but 3 times. This is not normal for a top babyface, let alone anybody in WWE. WWE is obsessed with 50-50 booking. You win, I win. You lose, I lose. But Cody Rhodes' dominance over Seth Rollins over the spring helped quickly separate Rhodes from the pack. And if we're being honest, Rollins deserves just as much credit as Cody in this exciting feud, especially during their third and most famous match.
Is the Cody story bigger and better news?
It's not better news. Cody hurt himself weight training this week.
That chest is bruised AF. Oh my God. Oh my God!
Oh gosh, I don't know if I want to see this.
Jesus!
Bro, look at it.
Oh! Oh! It's like Raw Game Mutant! Oh my God! Oh, this is horrifying.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
This is how much you love wrestling, bro.
Oh God damn it. How is Seth gonna lose this? Stupid for picking Cody here.
You are willing to go out there with a torn pec.
If we look at the extensive bruising that is occurring on Cody's chest, we can see that the bruising surrounds the pectoralis major connection point, more specifically above the anterior deltoid tendon insertion on the humerus.
Cody Rhodes was hurt, something that would become a theme for AEW stars joining WWE. We'll get into that later. But for now, Rhodes suffered a serious pec injury that would keep him out of action for over 7 months. But the injury was a blessing in disguise, and quite possibly the reason WWE fans became permanently invested in his story. Cody Rhodes wrestled with a torn pec. It was an act that was just as valiant as it was dangerous, as it probably was stupid. Fans knew Rhodes tore his pec and everything, but they didn't know the severity of the injury until he finally removed his robe and revealed a gnarly, purple bruise. The raucous Chicago crowd at Allstate Arena fell silent. I watched this thinking the same thing they were all thinking at the same time. How in the hell is Cody freaking Rhodes gonna work Hell in a Cell with one arm? In easily one of the most famous matches of this decade, not only did Rhodes work the match, he won. Rhodes won the match despite his looming injury and long absence. One of Vince McMahon's final decisions as WWE chairman was actually the one that saved Cody Rhodes' story. Think about that. Because Rhodes beat Seth Rollins for a third time with a torn pec. This picture of Cody Rhodes screaming with the sledgehammer is iconic and ironic, because one of Rhodes' first viral moments in AEW, at the very first AEW Double or Nothing, also involved the sledgehammer as a shot to Triple H. But this was a story in and of itself. A picture is worth 1,000 words, and Cody Rhodes' sledgehammer portrait has become every bit as famous as Dusty Rhodes' WWF title portrait. Cody Rhodes tore his pec trying to satisfy the WWE audience. And unlike AEW's fan base, WWE fans accepted him. They were like, you don't gotta set yourself on fire, bro. Rest up. We love you. And we'll see you in January.
Cody Rhodes has returned from injury and won the 2023 Men's Royal Rumble match, booking himself a place in the main event of WrestleMania.
Let's go! Come on, Cody! This is your time! Cody Rhodes returned at Royal Rumble 2023 and won in his first match back. This was straight out of the typical WWE protagonist playbook. A playbook that some fans didn't want to read in the 2010s when WWE tried it with John Cena and Roman Reigns. Yet somehow, Cody effing Rhodes redefined what it meant to be a babyface in modern day WWE by simply using the old definition from the dictionary. And he did it through old school principles. Cody wasn't a pretty boy with an edge like Shawn Michaels in the new generation. He wasn't an anti-authority tweener like Steve Austin of the Attitude Era. He wasn't a take no prisoners killing machine like Round Peg Roman Reigns in the Reality Era. He was just Cody Rhodes. A throwback good guy on a hero's journey. And somehow, that's all he needed to be. Cody was well on his way to following the template of Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels before him. Both Austin and Michaels won Royal Rumbles on their way to becoming world champions. However, both Austin and Michaels only succeeded after their second Royal Rumble wins. Cody was different. He wasn't going to base what he was on what everybody isn't. Cody was bound and determined to avenge his father with a WWE Championship win at WrestleMania 39. But to do that, he needed to beat the Tribal Chief. Something literally nobody has done in years. This is Roman Reigns, head of the table, the Tribal Chief, the reigning king of the Anoa'i family and the most dominant professional wrestler this side of the island of relevancy. Roman Reigns as a finished product is a bitter monarch who had to become a villain to see his full potential, even though this was never part of the plan. WWE always knew they had something in Roman, to the point where they refused to give up on him, no matter how bad things got. As a top babyface, Roman Reigns was booed out of WrestleMania 31. He was booed out of WrestleMania 32. He was booed out of WrestleMania 33. He was booed out of WrestleMania 34. He came back for WrestleMania in 2019, and in a WWE documentary, Roman himself admitted nobody gave a shit about his match at WrestleMania 35. He took WrestleMania 36 off, and rightfully so. He came back, and WWE finally came to its senses and turned him heel, where he was booed out of WrestleMania 37, but this time because he was supposed to. In that same 6-year period, Cody Rhodes quit WWE, launched AEW, stuck it to WWE by kicking their asses on Wednesday nights, only to stick it to AEW to return to WWE, where he's moving numbers on TV and live events like no babyface has since John Cena. Because for the next 6 years, Cody Rhodes will be the top singles money-drawing babyface that Roman Reigns failed to be in his first 6 years.
Roman's rise as the protagonist in WWE folklore was the corporate portrayal of how the corporation viewed Roman Reigns and Joe Anoa'i behind the scenes as Roman Reigns. And with Cody, what you see is what you get. This is Cody. Cody loves to stay in the arena after the show, shaking every hand, posing with every fan, signing every autograph. If it takes him 1 hour or 3, that's what he's always dreamt of doing, of being the person that they rely on to satisfy that level of a fan base. That's just not Roman Reigns. He's a game day player. He's there to do his job, do it better than everybody else or anybody else, and then get out and go home.
In Cody's own words, during a go-home promo on SmackDown, Reigns was an 11-year, tens of millions of dollars investment that didn't pay off until year 8. But to Cody's point, that investment paid off because Roman Reigns was unstoppable, not only creatively, but from a business standpoint too. Reigns set television and live event records for a resurgent WWE. WWE was in transition from the Vince McMahon era to the Triple H TKO era, from Drew McIntyre as its top babyface to Cody Rhodes as its top babyface. But its only constant during that whole time was Roman Reigns. Reigns worked a UFC schedule, seldom wrestling on TV or defending his WWE championship. But when he did, it felt like a UFC fight, and his main events did big fight numbers. Reigns was front and center for some of WWE's most historic stadium shows and the record-breaking live gates that came with them. Clash at the Castle from Principality Stadium, SummerSlam from Nissan Stadium, SummerSlam from Ford Field, SummerSlam in Allegiant Stadium. Give Roman Reigns a stadium and he'll fill it up the way Jerry the Racist Dwarf fills up an Xbox Live with racial slurs. But Reigns also had an embarrassment of riches for a supporting cast, like mastermind WWE Hall of Famer Paul Heyman, the Wiseman, Reigns' dominant twin cousins, the Usos, who were enjoying a historic tag team title reign of their own, and Solo Sikoa, the enforcer sent by the Elders. Roman Reigns went from a silent strongman to an omnipotent Marvel villain. This wasn't the big dog's yard anymore. This was the world according to Thanos. Roman Reigns fell into his full potential through a series of precise performances from the Bloodline. This was cinema, the likes WWE had never seen and may never see again. Reigns was the leader, a mad king, and anybody who threatened his power was in danger of being sacrificed as a demonstration of Reigns' might. This was what Cody Rhodes had to contend with, but not before this book would turn into a choose-your-own adventure. Because right around WrestleMania season, a chapter was added to the Book of Rhodes that nobody was ready for. And that detour's name was Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn started as the court jester of the Bloodline and was legitimately only supposed to do a few scenes with the group before returning to the good hand role. But Sami is an overachiever. The year before, at WrestleMania 38, he turned a comedy match against Johnny Knoxville from Jackass into legitimately one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time. You give Sami an inch, he'll give you a Montreal Mile. And like everything else he touched in WWE, except the electric chair, Sami gave the already piping hot Bloodline a Midas touch. Through his comedy segments with the Bloodline, Zayn became a conduit for the viewer. This added a dynamic to the Bloodline that in hindsight, they desperately needed. The Bloodline was the biggest thing in wrestling, but it was a faction that only a few people could relate to beyond just having a family. This was a certain type of family with specific Samoan rules, tribal tradition, and hierarchy. But with the addition of Sami Zayn, the Bloodline became just as relatable as any family that had a black sheep. This went from a dynasty to a sitcom in the best of ways. This was more Family Matters than Empire. Sami was Steve Urkel, and just like Urkel, Sami was outshining his castmates, and they didn't like it. In a few short months, Zayn's stint with the Bloodline went from amusing to heartwarming to disastrous. Zayn was getting too big for his britches, and he had to be dealt with by the tribal chief. So after betraying Reigns' orders in an emotional scene at the Royal Rumble, Sami was beat down and kicked out the Bloodline for good. But Sami did such a good job of endearing himself as an everyman trying to fit in, all of a sudden, there was a certain section of fans who wanted to see Sami dethrone Roman. Everything seemed to be perfectly set up for Cody Rhodes headed into WrestleMania, but then along came Sami Zayn to upset the apple cart. For Rhodes, WrestleMania was his destiny. But was it? Zayn organically caught fire and found himself in a bitter feud with Roman Reigns around the same time Reigns was set to headline Elimination Chamber in Sami's home country of Montreal. Amid a series of endless social media debating, with a lot of fans presenting the case for Sami Zayn, Sami lost to Roman Reigns. The loss was not without its share of controversy, but nobody turned on Cody Rhodes. Despite the misplaced comparisons to the Yes Movement, WWE had already done its job making Rhodes a made man. And while Sami Zayn could have legitimately had just as good of a fairy tale ending, WrestleMania was just 1 month away, and like the Notorious B.I.G., they had a story to tell. The stage was set for Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes. It was your typical babyface chase, and as great as Roman Reigns was during his never-ending world title reign, WWE peaked it perfectly to end on the grandest stage of them all. Leading up to his showdown with Cody Rhodes, Reigns won one match after another with help from the Bloodline. Sami Zayn, dead that. Drew McIntyre, dead that. Bonus points for doing it on the road in their home countries. Edge and Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 37, stack that, smash that, pause, dead that. Now they're in AEW, which is a half-dead wrestling promotion as we speak. John Cena, dead that. Kevin Owens, dead that. Brock Lesnar, dead that. And redact that for now. Logan Paul, dead that. Cesaro, come on, man, stop playing. Roman Reigns had built a shield of his own with strength in numbers. But so did Cody. Rhodes forged a bond with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens through their mutual hatred of the Bloodline. WWE shrewdly positioned this friendship to keep Rhodes hot as a babyface despite Sami Zayn's controversial loss. Sami and Kevin became allies of Cody as WWE recreated its own MCU. In fact, another reason fans never left Cody's side is because he was as big of a real-life superhero as WWE had, one with the power to end racism. And by aligning with Rhodes, Zayn and Owens got to become superheroes too. So much so, Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens main evented WrestleMania 39 against the Usos. It was the first time since WrestleMania 1 that a tag team match headlined the event. In what I consider to be the greatest WrestleMania of all time, Zayn and Owens dethroned the Usos on night 1 of WrestleMania 39. It was an auspicious start to the weekend, and it signaled the impending fall of a dynasty. The Usos lost. 2 down, 1 to go. And on night 2, in the main event of WrestleMania 39, Cody Rhodes finished his story once and for all by beating Roman Reigns. Hold up, cut the tape for a second. Back the truck up. This is the last page of the book. This has to be where Cody Rhodes finishes his story, right? He fucking lost?
Oh my God.
How stupid. Oh my God! What? No! Whoa! Oh my God, they actually did it! They've messed this up! Unless Rock is coming out.
Cody Rhodes lost. And it wasn't just Cody who lost either. The entire wrestling world lost it. In fact, with AEW on the downswing and WWE shooting itself in the foot, the entire wrestling world felt lost. WWE was in a honeymoon period with no Vince McMahon and long-term storytelling that only needed a cherry on top. But on that night, not only did Vince McMahon force his way back into the company, Logan Roy style, WrestleMania 39 was victimized by the type of infuriating finish that Vince McMahon had become famous for in his winter years. This was worse than Seth Rollins' ref stoppage against Bray Wyatt, God rest his soul, because baby faces are few and far between in this business. And by booking Cody Rhodes to lose after all this buildup, it wasn't just any babyface, but WWE's top babyface now had a credibility problem. WWE had managed to pass every test, making Cody Rhodes into its top star of the future, right down to making Finish the Story a battle cry. Instead, it became a gift, a book that was to be continued, and a Cody Rhodes legacy that risked nosediving into Stardust territory. I usually don't get twisted into knots about wins and losses in pro wrestling, but this one stung. Rhodes' WrestleMania moment felt like a coronation. Roman had taken his WWE Undisputed Universal Championship run as far as he could take it, but WWE decided to extend it so they could check a few more boxes for the sake of history. Some say Cody didn't face enough adversity to win the WWE title after WrestleMania. Bullshit. For anybody paying attention, Cody's entire origin story is one of adversity. He had to paint himself like his gender-bending brother, who was brilliant as Goldust, by the way. Even after having to recreate history to get himself over all over again, he had to overcome a whole triceps injury. Adversity. Miss me with that malarkey. The wrestling business is about getting over. In 1981, a pro wrestler was fired from WWF, so he worked the territories for the next few years, got over in Japan, got over in the States, and was so undeniable he was rehired by WWF in 1984. Then after 1 month, just 1 month into his second run, and not having to face a shred of adversity, WWF made him their world champion and changed the wrestling business forever. That man's name was Hulk Hogan. His ascent to the world title had nothing to do with adversity, nor did it have to. The booking was basically Terry taking one look at the WWF title and saying, "I'm coming for you, nigga." So don't tell me anything about adversity. In hindsight, this was a terrible decision. Reigns surpassed 1,000 days as world champion. So what? He barely defended the thing. It was similar to an absentee father celebrating 1,000 days of parenthood. Congratulations on the 3 soccer games you attended, Greg. Reigns would go on to barely wrestle over the next year, all while breaking several longevity records for holding the WWE title hostage. Good work if you can get it. After losing their tag titles, the Usos' relationship with Roman Reigns was frayed. The Bloodline's last great segment came during a 40-minute tribal court with Roman Reigns as the defendant. This led to a Bloodline civil war pitting the Usos against Reigns and Solo Sikoa, and Reigns' first pinfall loss in over 3 years at the hands of his now defected cousin, Main Event Jey Uso. Jey Uso received a world title shot as a result of scoring the pinfall, but nobody believed for a second he was going to win that match. In fact, looking back, Reigns' match against Jey at SummerSlam could have just as easily been defended for the tribal beads that were also on the line. Reigns as WWE champion meant another year of absenteeism in the world title picture. Roman Reigns was the Dr. Evil of WWE champions. It also meant predictable lame duck WWE title matches until at least the next WrestleMania. Between Reigns' inexplicable win over Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 39 and WrestleMania 40, there was never a doubt that Roman Reigns would drop that title in any of his matches. And that's how you knew that Roman Reigns and the Bloodline had jumped the shark. I was at SummerSlam in Detroit, and after Reigns predictably beat Jey, it felt very WrestleMania 32-ish. Fans were getting sick of Roman Reigns all over again as he threatened to overstay his welcome with this rinse, wash, repeat Bloodline booking. The Bloodline had peaked, and WWE was just biding its time to finish 2 stories that should have ended in Inglewood. Meanwhile, Cody Rhodes soldiered on. Rhodes came out smelling like roses in an excellent 3-match feud against Brock Lesnar, one that could have and should have been competed for the WWE Championship. Rhodes' consolation prize came when he won the WWE Tag titles alongside Jey Uso shortly thereafter. Rhodes and Jey's alliance began the run-up to a heavily anticipated rematch for Cody Rhodes against Roman Reigns. WWE let this be known on the October 13th broadcast of SmackDown. The Bloodline story was in the bottom of the 3rd, according to Paul Heyman. And Cody Rhodes' story felt like it was on book number 6, like a Harry Potter anthology. But as Cody Rhodes stared into Reigns' cold, dead eyes, Rhodes' redemption couldn't be too far behind. With the Royal Rumble around the corner, the WWE Championship title was once again in shouting distance. But anybody familiar with Rhodes' journey knows that nothing comes easy. And as Rhodes got one step closer to his goal, WWE took another star back.
So I hear CM Punk is back. Is that right? He's back in WWE?
Back. CM Punk signed a multi-year contract, yes.
Are you serious? Oh, they did it. They did it.
Oh my God! Oh my God! What the f***? What the f***? Put in!
You
Are you f***ing kidding me?
Due to circumstances out of anybody's control and historically inept leadership from Tony Khan, CM Punk was a free agent on the cusp of WrestleMania season. And WWE was all too happy to jump at the opportunity to sign him. On top of that, it was a daunting sign for Cody Rhodes. Suddenly, the Royal Rumble didn't feel like a step in the right direction for Cody. It felt like another hurdle. On the Raw before the Royal Rumble, CM Punk and Cody Rhodes came face to face in an excellent but tense exchange. Punk warned Cody that just as Cody prepared to challenge Roman Reigns, a bigger star was going to come in and take it all away from him. The promo proved to be somewhat of a worked shoot, because reading in between the lines, Punk wasn't talking about himself.
Back to back, yes! Let's go! No, I think it was gonna be Cody. He did lose to Dusty's kid. He's gonna cry.
Cody wins! Cody wins!
For the first time in a
Oh my God!
Ah! Wow!
Oh, back to back.
5 days later, against all odds, and even with CM Punk favored to win the Royal Rumble and challenge Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes turned a hurdle into history by winning back-to-back Royal Rumbles. Rhodes became the first WWE superstar since Stone Cold Steve Austin in 97 and 98 to go back-to-back, and he joined Austin, Shawn Michaels, and Hulk Hogan as the only wrestlers to achieve that feat. Everything felt right in the world. To WWE's credit, Rhodes was more over than ever, even after losing at WrestleMania 39. This was far from too little too late. Instead, it was like Rocky's second match against Apollo Creed in Rocky II, one where Rocky had to win. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say Rocky?
Breaking news coming in the last couple of minutes as The Rock has shockingly appeared on Friday Night SmackDown. Cody Rhodes has revealed he will not be facing Roman Reigns for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship.
SmackDown ended with The Rock taking Cody's place against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
What is going on?
That's a really good question.
Lots of people are upset because the people want to see it more now than they ever have. But at some point, will they tamper with this one too many times?
Uh-oh. The fans are mad at The Rock.
The online wrestling community they're not liking what happened with The Rock being involved.
Woo! People got back to very quickly not giving a fuck about Vince McMahon and his allegations. Jesus, that didn't take long.
Another tale of adversity, another chapter added. CM Punk's promo about a bigger star taking Rhodes' opportunity away from him was a foreshadowing of plans for The Rock, not Rhodes, to challenge Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40. Complete fuckery. Phil Brooks referred to this conundrum as the full CM Punk experience, since Punk dealt with similar bigfooting at the hands of The Rock when Punk was WWE champion in 2013. But this wasn't the CM Punk experience. It was the Black experience. Cody Rhodes always connected with the Black fan base due to a combination of his father's popularity with the culture, his beautiful Black wife Brandy, his neck tattoo, and yes, even his disillusion of racism while he was in AEW. But the blackest thing about Cody Rhodes is the theme of having to fight twice as hard to get half as far. It's the story of him leaving WWE and having to reinvent himself in order to become a main eventer. It's a story of him having to bear the cross of never challenging for an AEW world title. And now, with Cody Rhodes on the precipice of challenging Roman Reigns for the WWE World Championship his father never won, Rhodes was booked to take half a step back for the People's Champion. But the people weren't having it. At some point, WWE's legit cockamamie plans were for The Rock to challenge Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40, thereby further delaying Rhodes' story. For was the unprecedented backlash they'd receive for Cody Rhodes losing his spot. With Cody booked to awkwardly loan his book to The Rock after winning the Royal Rumble, fans took to Twitter, YouTube, and anything within a mile of a keyboard to wow the fuck out. Clips of The Rock's apparent challenge of Roman Reigns on YouTube became some of WWE's most disliked YouTube videos of the year and collectively received more dislikes than any WWE video in history. We want Cody, Rocky sucks, and the Woe movement became just some of the trending hashtags as part of a social media riot. And it quickly became apparent that by trying to replace The Rock with Cody Rhodes, WWE made a mistake. Many compared this to Daniel Bryan's Yes movement. The difference was WWE had no plans of pushing Daniel Bryan. He wasn't even in the Royal Rumble the year he ascended to the WrestleMania main event. That was a grassroots movement that upset the apple cart. Cody Rhodes, on the other hand, was WWE's hand-picked top star. He won the freaking Royal Rumble twice, and it worked. It wasn't forced like babyface Roman Reigns in the 2010s. But WWE just got greedy, and they paid for it dearly. The backlash reared its ugly head as The Rock's daughter, Ava Raine, began receiving death threats. And with Vince McMahon once again out on his ass, the new WWE regime did not fight the fans as they would have had Vince been in charge. Instead, they listened. At a heavily anticipated WrestleMania press conference in Las Vegas, less than a week after Storygate on SmackDown, WWE made a course correction, as Rhodes opted to challenge Roman Reigns for the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. As big of a star as The Rock was, fans had created too strong of a bond with Cody Rhodes to just accept nostalgia porn at WrestleMania 40. Because with good enough booking, storyline will beat celebrity every time. WWE's change of plans didn't only affect Rhodes' trajectory, it also affected The Rock, as the former People's Champion turned heel with the slap heard round the world. The Rock was a heel before he even knew it. He ran into a buzzsaw that used to be called Stardust. WWE had jerked fans around one too many times with Cody Rhodes' story, and this was their reckoning. In a matter of one surprise appearance in February, The Rock turned into 2014 Batista overnight. But Dwayne didn't give a fuck, because while babyface Rock is a Hall of Famer, the final boss is the motherfucker who bought the Hall of Fame, TKO style, because he has no peers, the way I have no voice. But voice or not, I'm finishing this goddamn story. Fuck what you heard. The only reason why The Rock hasn't been inducted is because The Rock going into the WWE Hall of Fame would be like WWE selling him his own house. The greatness of The Rock is his ability to survive, adapt, and win under any circumstance. When football wasn't in the cards, he pivoted to become an all-time wrestler. When he was booed as a babyface in 2003, he pivoted to give us Hollywood Rock. When Rock's wholesome acting roles weren't hitting right early on, he fired his management team and rebranded himself as an action hero, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but different. You know, without the love child. Then he just made a whole production company. My guy, The Rock once ran out of toothpaste, and instead of going to 7-Eleven or like Craigslist to get more toothpaste, he bought the company that invented toothpaste. So now every time you wake up in the morning to brush your teeth, Dwayne gets a check. That's a true story. Google it. Okay, it's not. Stop tripping. But you get the point I'm making. To quote a GOAT, it doesn't matter what fans think about The Rock, because once he has the information he needs, he'll survive, adapt, and take the fuck over. I know I'm cussing all over this app. Sorry, Auntie Collins. I didn't cuss so much she's got me blocked. But there's a fucking reason why I'm cussing. Because when The Rock survived and adapted to 2024, he survived with the aesthetic of the old school Rock, but adapted with the language of a rated R Rock. I know that's Edge's gimmick, but Final Boss was Samoa Joe's gimmick, and Rocky remixed it for his own damn self and made it better. What's your point? The Rock got famous through old media like television and movies, but he had to update his character to the streaming era. In addition to getting over on TV, he had to get over in these streets and go viral. And he did just that with his fire-breathing promos on social media. He became Rocky with a capital rated R. As the aunties say, he was too hot for TV. It was like a rapper dropping a mixtape, and yeah, some of the songs will end up on the album, like how some of Rock's bars on IG ended up on TV, but people buy mixtapes for the freestyles, that raw and unfiltered product that you can't get anywhere else. So allow me to reintroduce you to Mixtape Maya Via.
Oh, Cody Crybabies, yeah, that's what they're called.
Okay. Came in, used his power to take this opportunity away from Cody.
The Rock doesn't know who that guy is, but he knows what he is, and that's a goof, an idiot, another pro wrestling Cody Crybaby jack-off idiot. Cody, Seth, Crybabies, and that head dog of yours, Pharaoh, standards and practices off is a direction you can.
Wife comes in, hey honey, do you want to go have sex? Not now! You gotta finish the story!
Story.
like, wait a second, hold on. Hey, Dad, you want to go outside and play catch with me? Not now. Cody's got it, and I'm upset.
I could give it to my mommy. My mommy. Shut the up. Rock guarantees you stick your nose in our business, that world title that you have around your waist will go to somebody else. Give it to your mommy.
He gotta finish his story. He has to finish his story right now.
I'm gonna whoop him. And whoop him. And whoop him. In front of the world. Clear my ass. Just because the show's over, that doesn't mean that the shit stops.
The streets caught The Rock slipping, so he leveled up and evolved, like the people's Pokemon. Rocky went from Smiling Dwayne all the way to Charizard, real quick. Mixtapes are about freestyles and remixes. And after freestyling on social media, Mixtape Maya Via remixed his old gear to create a stunning collection of custom-made $5,000 vests inspired by his gimmick from the late 90s. And Dwayne "The Drought" Johnson was cooking. That was a Lil Wayne mixtape reference. Keep up. The greatest part of The Rock's return, for both storyline and shoot reasons, was that it gave Cody one final hill of adversity to overcome. This wouldn't be a Cody Rhodes anthology without real life getting in the way to turn Cody's push into a Charlie Brown meme. And after overcoming real life adversity yet again through the will of the people forcing WWE's hand, Cody had to overcome the storyline adversity by taking beating after beating after beating at the hands and the belt of the artist formerly known as the People's Champion. Remix Rocky masterfully appropriated another gimmick by using Cody Rhodes' heavyweight belt to physically assault Cody, all while playing mind games by taunting Mama Rhodes.
My mommy, shut the fuck up.
The Rock and Roman Reigns teamed up as part of the Bloodline to take on Cody Rhodes and his new ally, Seth Rollins. If Team Cody lost, Night 2 would be Bloodline rules. Anything goes. Even though the people had turned on him, The Rock accepted a ceremonial People's Championship at the Hall of Fame. For anybody paying attention, the long-term storytelling here was The Rock encroaching on the island of relevancy. Roman called himself the Tribal Chief. Rocky called himself the Final Boss. Roman said he's the undisputed champion. Rocky gets his own belt too. Roman threw up a 1. Rocky threw up an L. Roman beat Cody at WrestleMania Night 1. 1 year later, The Rock did a Mr. Me Too word eclipse. Everything Roman did, Rocky remixed. Similar to The Rock creating his own production company to take over Hollywood. Similar to The Rock taking over WWE. And just like The Rock's hostile takeover of the toothpaste industry, The Rock was getting ready to take over the Bloodline. On WrestleMania Night 2, less than 24 hours after losing to The Rock and sitting up dejected in a callback to WrestleMania 39, the Cody Rhodes Tour of Adversity reached its final destination. This was the Bloodline deadline, where the rubber chicken met the road. Roman versus Cody 2. Anything goes. Bloodline rules.
Let me tell you something. There's common blood here. Common blood. And no matter what goes down, I love you. Can you do this?
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! He did! Holy fucking shit! What? Is she crying? Shit.
Cody did it. He fucking did it. 735 days, 20 hours, 11 minutes, and 58 seconds of adversity led to the most satisfying WWE Championship win in the history of this business. There's a beautiful irony in the term "finish the story," because for Cody Rhodes, just like any great pro wrestler, there will always be adversity and always a story to tell. Cody beat Roman, but Roman's not the final boss anymore. That man beat Cody the night before. So the saga continues. The Rock used Cody's weightlifting gimmick, so eventually I expect Cody to take the People's Championship from The Rock, which would make that honorary title more meaningful than any championship in AEW. See, that's how you book an unsanctioned championship, Tony Khan. With his WWE return and his win, Cody Rhodes legitimized the Renaissance era, a term that Cody himself trademarked. Finishing the story is a Cody Rhodes catchphrase, probably also trademarked, but it's a Dusty Rhodes reference. Cody's actual story began in kayfabe and continued in real life. His exhalation serves as a beacon of hope to performers across the wrestling industry and a personification that WWE is doing business. Last year, we dropped the CM Punk documentary, which is now the second greatest wrestling documentary of all time after this one dropped. And Cody Rhodes' story is CM Punk's wildest dreams realized. CM Punk is goated and one of the greatest promos to ever touch a mic. But actions speak louder than words. The pipe bomb echoed sentiments of change, but Cody brought them to fruition. And with every chapter, every ally, every frenemy, every villain, and every boss, whether it be the final boss or the futile boss, Cody Rhodes will find a way. Everything you could say about Cody Rhodes can also be said about The Rock. Cody is a survivor, an adapter. He branded himself with a tattoo. Everybody says he should run for office, and I agree. Cody Rhodes will transcend his wrestling career to the mainstream the way Dwayne did, but with politics. And I truly believe that by this time in 2028, Cody Rhodes will beat The Rock to the punch by becoming the second ever Black president of the United States. Let's go, Cody. Thank you so much for watching. Both you and this doc are goated. Subscribe for a surprise documentary dropping sooner than you think. Is this the greatest story ever told? What should our next documentary be about? Tell me in the comments!